What's going on, guys? Zuco back with another War Within video. I hope you're all having a really good time. This isn't exactly a War Within video. This is a sort of speculation video from me, but I do want to show you this tank shaman tree that I've built. And the reason that I'm even doing this is because there was a Reddit post the other day that basically a guy was on the beta for the War Within and he ran into a tank shaman doing a follower dungeon. You can see it right there, Baelgrim. So I don't know. I think that there was also a post from Blizzard like last week or 2 weeks ago that said we have plans for future updates for Shaman that will come with a future patch in the War Within. The reason I think this could mean there's a tank Shaman coming in the War Within is because in Dragonflight, in a 2.5 patch or whatever, it was a 0.5 patch, we got augmentation evokers. So a whole new spec for them. Now, I know they only had 2 specs to begin with, but my point is, I think this is very possible and very likely. In Season of Discovery, there's a tank shaman right now that exists in the game and it has its own little mechanics. But I think that you could easily bring tank shaman into the game in the War Within, and I think they might be doing it in a future patch. We're gonna have to wait and see. But in the meantime, I've created what I think could be a really, really cool idea for shaman as a tank shaman. Let me get my other pictures up here. There's a whole bunch of themes that are going on here. I think there's a really clear identity that I've created here and I like it, and I want to show you guys what I'm talking about here with this kind of idea that I have. So we're gonna get my cheat sheet going here and I'll show you this in a second. What's going on with this tree? Number one, thematically, shaman has, you know, air, earth, lightning, and then, well, air is lightning, I guess. You have earth and then water. So lightning, water, earth, and then fire. Those are like the elements you're working with. Enhancement Shaman and Ellie Shaman kind of cover like the lightning and fire and actually some ice in there as well. Resto Shaman covers the water bit. Nobody really covers the earth bit very well, and I think that's a perfect spot to start for our Earth Warder tank Shaman, is that the emphasis is going to be on earth. So when you're looking at the trees here, I want you to understand that the left side is going to be an air focused side. The middle is all the earth stuff. And the right side is a lot of the water stuff. Those are the 3 different elements that I'm focusing on. There's a tiny bit of fire down here. We'll talk about that in a minute. But primarily you're looking at earth being the emphasis, and then air and then water on the different sides. And they're all going to kind of work together to create a cohesive tank shaman build. Let's get into it, okay? First and foremost, there's passives up here. So we've got Rockbiter Weapon. You imbue your main hand weapon with earth, increasing your melee attack power and then your threat generation. I don't know, maybe the number is wrong or whatever, but the idea is that you need to be more threatening because you are a tank. Then we have our mastery. This is our mastery. You deal more damage and you take less damage and you receive more healing per active totem that you have going. Right now, I don't have a limit on this, but you probably want to put a limit to like maybe 6 or 7 totems at a time. Yes, you'll be able to create that many totems with this build. The idea here is that this is something you can scale, and it's a skill thing that you can play around. Your damage will go up, your defense will go up, and your healing received will go up the more totems you have active. This does not apply to your utility totems. You're going to understand why in a minute, but this does not apply to like Earth Grab, Earthbind, Wind Rush. So you can't just throw down a bunch of random totems for like no reason and then get this crazy bonus to damage and defensive. That's not a good like gameplay loop that I would want to encourage. You want to be using like real totems that are going to be a part of your build, and I'll show you those in a minute, okay? That's your mastery. Totemic is another passive you have. Your auto attacks generate 1 to 5 Maelstrom per swing. Maelstrom is the resource we're going to use, just like Ellie Shaman, not Maelstrom weapon stacks. We're going to do Maelstrom, okay? Just keep it nice and simple. Every 20 Maelstrom that you spend reduces the cooldown on most of your totems by 1 second. So again, you can immediately see the synergy here. If I'm spending Maelstrom, I'm reducing the cooldown on my totems. If I'm using my totems, I'm keeping my mastery buff going, and I'm making myself a lot stronger, okay? That's how this kind of works. So there's going to work together in conjunction there, okay? Let's get into the talents, and I'm going to work my way down. These 2 abilities over here are your main, your single target spender and your AoE spender. I'll just touch on them really quickly. So Totemic Slam is your single target spender. It costs 30 Maelstrom. You slam your target and you deal damage, and then it has a 40% chance to summon a Stone Skin totem. The Stone Skin totem reduces your damage taken by 15% for 8 seconds. So you're using your single target slam, and it has a chance to spawn a totem. The totem reduces physical damage that you deal, and yes, this totem counts towards your Strength of the Earth passive as well. So again, you immediately start to see what's going on there, right? I build up Maelstrom, and then I slam somebody with my Totemic Slam. I get a Stone Skin Totem. I'm tankier right away, which is kind of cool. Landslide. You're going to pull the rocks from the earth and heave them at your enemies in a line in front of you. It deals damage to each enemy hit, okay? There's no extra totemic sort of synergy there, but it just does a bunch of damage, okay? Single target spender, AoE spender. Let's get to the top here. Rockbiter, not to be confused with Rockbiter weapon enchant. This is an actual ability. It replaces Primal Strike. It has a 6-second cooldown. You infuse your weapon with Elemental Earth, striking the target for 220% physical damage, and you gain an Absorb Shield for 25% of the damage that you deal, okay? This is really important. It's going to become really important later. This idea of gaining an Absorb Shield based on the damage that Rockbiter does becomes really important, okay? This is your main defensive button that you're actively pressing all the time is Rockbiter. It generates 15 Maelstrom, okay? Then we have Earthen Wall Totem, going down the middle here for a second. This has 1 charge and a 30-second cooldown. It summons a totem for 200% of your total health, and 20% of all damage that you take is redirected to the totem. So you essentially have 20% damage reduction for as long as the health of the Earthen Wall Totem sustains itself, okay? That's how that works. On the left side, we have Wind Dancer. On the right side, we have Water Dancer. So again, we're getting to the themes here. Wind, the whole wind section, I'm just going to take 1 second to pause here. Here's the different emphasis, basically, that happens with the different sections. So the air section is basically all about resource generation, imbuements and buffs, and then it has an Avatar of the Storm cooldown down here, which is really cool. Very, very strong. But it's mostly about this right here, okay? The Earth section is about damage and damage reduction. It's got Earth Shield interactions. It's got Rockbiter emphasis. There's an Earth Elemental section, which is really good. And then it has a defensive Ascendance cooldown, which we'll get to in a minute. I'm actually very excited about that one. The water section has to do with self-healing and sustain. It's got strong totem interaction, which means it has really good interaction with your Strength of the Earth mastery bonus. And then it's got some healing surge talents. Vesper totem is back, and a Spirit Link cheat death. Okay, so this is kind of what you can expect from each of the different trees in terms of what they're doing for you to help you stay alive. Okay. Wind Dancer, your block chance goes up by 10%. Blocking an attack infuses you with the Spirit of Alakir, increasing your attack speed by 15% and the amount of Maelstrom generated from your auto attacks from between 2 and 6. So your auto attacks usually do 1 to 5. As soon as you block, you're going to start doing 2 to 6. Okay, in terms of your Maelstrom generation. So it's a slight buff to your Maelstrom generation, increases your attack speed, which gives you a higher chance to proc Maelstrom generation, and it gives you block chance, okay? If we go down here, there's a brand new ability, Fury of Air. It's a 20-second cooldown. It slams the air in front of you, dealing 250% nature damage to enemies, reduced beyond 8 targets. For the next 10 seconds, your successful blocks also generate Maelstrom. So you can see, as I said, the air side is all about Maelstrom generation. You're going to need to dip into some of these air talents just to keep your Maelstrom generation going, because the earth section and the water section have nothing to do with Maelstrom generation at all, okay? So now, when you block, you're going to be increasing your Maelstrom generation, and then even further with Fury of Air, you're going to be increasing your Maelstrom generation, okay? And you get an extra AoE damage attack, right? Which is just on a cooldown. It doesn't cost any Maelstrom, it's just on a cooldown. Here's your first choice node, Furious Air or Concentrated Air. Fury of Air's cooldown is reduced and its damage goes up, which is nice. Just a nice little DPS thing. 15-second cooldown now. So you basically get this 10-second block window that you have is almost going to be up permanently now, because you have 5 seconds. If you're pressing Fury of Air on cooldown, you're going to have this really good block Maelstrom generation going. Okay, or Fury of Air now only hits 1 target, but it deals 50% more damage, which is pretty cool. So again, if you're on a raid fight, a raid boss fight, this is something where you could take Concentrated Air instead and get a bonus, okay? Let's look at the middle for a second. Echo of the Earth. Earth Shield gains 2 additional charges and reduces your damage taken by 10% when active. So this is going to become a theme. Earth Shield is a massive theme for the Earth Warder Shaman. You want to have your Earth Shield up all the time. It is still based on charges, but don't worry, you're going to be able to refresh those charges kind of seamlessly or really easily. It's not going to be about like pressing Earth Shield every like 10 seconds to refresh them. That's not what you're doing. You're going to have ways of refreshing your Earth Shield besides having to just press the button, okay? Earthen Wall Totem also gains an additional charge. So now you have an extra charge for Earthen Wall. Very, very good in Mythic Plus to reduce a lot of the damage that's coming in. Another little cooldown that you have there, okay? Water Dancer. Healing Stream Totem gains an additional charge. Remember, in the class tree, you get Healing Stream Totem. You get 1 charge for free. So now you get an additional charge. And then Healing Stream Totem will prioritize healing you over your allies if you're injured. Any overhealing on you does go to an injured nearby party member, okay? Then we have Earth Mother's Blessing. Reincarnate cooldown is reduced by 15 minutes. The reincarnation cooldown is a 30-minute cooldown. Now it's reduced to 15, so we're cutting it in half. When you use reincarnation, it restores you to 50% health, and you gain 25% damage reduction for 5 seconds. So this is a really cool idea, I think, and a really nice like niche that a tank shaman could have, where you now have this ability to just get yourself back up. You have your own battle res, basically, and it's on a shorter cooldown, and once you get back up, it makes you very, very tanky. No other tank in the game has the ability to do that, to bring themselves back from the dead. So I think that will be a really cool emphasis for the Earth Warder Shaman. Okay? Get down to this final row. This is the last section before this is the gate right here to get to the midsection of the tree. So it's these 4 talents are the gate, okay? This one's really fun. Northern Winds. Wind Shear gains an additional charge and prevents spellcasting for an additional second. So I think this would be such an amazing thing to have for a shaman, because it just makes sense, right? As an Earth Warder shaman, you're the tank, you get an additional access to this Wind Shear talent. Now you have 2 kicks right away if you want. You can kick there and then kick there, and then it also prevents them from casting spells for a little bit longer. I think that's a really cool idea for an Earth Warder shaman. Living Earth. When you have at least 8 Earth Shield charges, Rockbiter deals more damage and it grants more absorption. Remember, Rockbiter grants an absorb shield based on the damage that it deals. So you're getting 20% more damage and more absorption. You're kind of double dipping there. But you have to maintain 8 Earth Shield charges in order to get this bonus. So there's a little bit of a tension there. You have to be playing well, keeping your Earth Shield charges up. And if you do, then you're going to do more damage with Rockbiter and get more shielding as a result. So I love this idea. I think it's a cool talent. So Totem Master. Using a utility totem reduces the cooldown on Healing Stream Totem and Earthen Wall Totem by 3 seconds. So this is really, really cool. This encourages you to use your utility totems. Remember, your utility totems do not give you a benefit of in terms of strength of the earth, but your utility totems are now going to cool down Earthen Wall and Healing Stream, and both of those totems do contribute to your strength of the earth mastery bonus. So really good synergy here. Encourages you to use your Earthbind and your Cap Totem and all that kind of stuff, okay? Let's get to the midsection of the tree here. Remember, now we're really starting to branch off, and it's going to be good. Here's another cooldown that we're going to get. Shamanistic Rage is going to come back. 2-minute cooldown, reduces all damage taken by 20%, and generates 5 Maelstrom per second for 10 seconds. So you get 50 Maelstrom from this cooldown, and you get damage reduction. So it's a huge resource generator over time and a nice little DR. Okay, it's very similar to like Ardent Defender for a prop pally, although Ardent Defender has like a cheat death tag. It doesn't have a resource generation tag, but this is kind of the flex that Shaman is getting. Okay, let's look at the foundations here. Reduce Rockbiter's cooldown by 1 second, so it goes from a 6-second cooldown to a 5-second cooldown. Okay, Rockbiter refreshes Earth Shield charges per enemy struck. Up to 6 can be refunded at once. So this is where we start to see the Earth Shield synergy between Living Earth giving you more damage, and then you have to maintain these 8 stacks of Earth Shield. And now you've got Foundations, which gives you more Rockbiter uptime, and Rockbiter is now going to refresh those shields. And it is per enemy struck. You're going to see that Rockbiter is going to start hitting multiple enemies soon once we get further down the tree, okay? Living Water. So we have Living Earth is up here. Now we have Living Water. Reduces Healing Stream's cooldown by 3 seconds. Anytime a Healing Stream totem is summoned, refresh 1 charge of Earth Shield. So you can choose which direction you want to go with the Earth Shield refreshing. You can get both of these if you want to and have maximum Earth Shield refreshing uptime, or you can just go one direction or the other. You're going to notice the theme for the water side is summoning a lot of Healing Stream totems. A whole bunch of Healing Stream totems. The theme on the Earth side, of course, has everything to do with the Rock Biter, Earth Shield interactions, and then we're going to start getting towards the air stuff in a second here, okay? But you have a choice here, or you can do both. Shifting River. Summoning a healing stream totem reduces the cooldown on Astral Shift by 2 seconds. This is the defensive cooldown that you get in the class tree, right? Don't forget about that. You have shifting power Astral Shift in the class tree. So this is going to reduce the cooldown of Astral Shift, which is super cool, and it's all a bit based on how many healing stream totems you're summoning. You have to keep summoning as many as you can possibly get. Okay, that's that row. Let's look at the air one here. Breath of Air increases your maximum maelstrom by 100. So you start out with 100, now you're going to 200. So you have a huge bank of maelstrom now that you can use, and this is going to really matter once we get to the Avatar of the Storm cooldown. We'll look at that in a second, but this is just a really good resource buff here. Then we have Wind Shield. This is an active ability. Imbue your shield with the power of wind. Increases your block chance by 3%. Further by 3%. Blocking an attack grants you a shield for 30% of the blocked damage. That might need to be lowered, that number. Maybe make it 15% or something. But the idea here is that you're, again, investing more into block, just like Wind Dancer did. And every time you block, of course, you can be, you're going to get that attack speed bonus coming from Wind Dancer, which is really good. Now you have an increased chance to block, and now you're getting shields every single time you block as well. Little mini shields, okay? So that's Wind Shield. Irrigation. Earth Shield gains 5 additional charges. Refreshing an Earth Shield charge heals you for an amount. So now we've got some synergy between Earth and Water, where if I'm refreshing my Earth Shields via Rock Biter, then I'm actually healing myself. And I have a higher maximum Earth Shield count, which means I'm less likely to dip below 8 Earth Shield charges. So I'm much more likely to have Living Earth active all the time, okay, which is really, really cool, okay? Earth Shield also gains 2 charges up here. So now we have 9 charges to start with. You have 9 Earth Shield charges. Now you go up to 11 with Echo of the Earth. And then now you go up to 16. So you're going to have 16 charges potentially. And you just can't dip below 8. So you have a lot of wiggle room there to work with in terms of letting your Earth Shields kind of fall off before you need to refresh them with like a Rock Biter or whatever the case might be, okay? Growing Stream. Each time Healing Stream Totem heals, increases the healing of your next Healing Surge by 5% up to 100%. So Healing Surge is a baseline ability, and you can include that into your healing kit now for the Earth Warder Shaman. I keep forgetting what the name's going to be, but now your sustain is going to come from Healing Stream Totems and Healing Surge, okay? Healing Surge costs 5 less Maelstrom and heals for 20% more. So now we just have even more bonus to Healing Surge. That leads us to a new cooldown called Surging Waters. 1 minute cooldown. Your next Healing Surge heals for 100% more, is guaranteed to critically strike, and summons 2 Healing Stream Totems when you do it. This is really crazy. So you press this cooldown, you smack yourself with a big Healing Surge. I think I should say that it's also instant. I don't know why I didn't say that. Your next Healing Surge is instant. My heals for more. There we go. Bring this back over here. So your next Healing Surge is instant, heals for more, guaranteed to crit, and summons 2 additional Healing Stream Totems. So a massive sustain button. You press this, you surge yourself, it's going to top you, and you're going to summon 2 Healing Stream Totems, which are also going to start healing you, but more importantly, contribute to your Strength of the Earth mastery bonus. So again, then you're going to start doing more damage, you're going to take less damage, and you're going to take more healing. So this is a really, really big cooldown. It's a 1 minute cooldown. I love the idea of this. It's just a huge self-heal with some sustain at the end of it, okay? Like that a lot. Now, let's get to the middle here. Improved Earth Elemental. Your Earth Elemental is greatly empowered and is now a 1 minute cooldown. Earth Elemental taunts nearby enemies every 5 seconds and reduces their damage dealt by 15%. So any enemy that he taunts is going to have their damage dealt reduced, which is really good. That means you can also contribute to like helping your allies take less damage. Like if you taunt a spellcaster and a spell gets cast on one of your on your allies, it's going to do 15% less damage, okay? Earth Elemental gains 100% of your health and 50% of your armor. So a very, very strong Earth Ellie. It's a 1 minute cooldown. He taunts everybody, which takes the heat off of you for a second, gives you a second to like keep yourself sustained, and then you know once he's done, you'll get back into the fight. Furious Earth. Landslide costs 5 less Maelstrom and deals 3% more damage per stack of Earth Shield that you have when you cast it. Landslide is our AoE damage button, and we can now buff the damage of it based on the Earth Shield stacks that we have. So it's 3% per Earth Shield stack. If you have all 16, that's going to end up being 30%. It's like, I don't know, like 50% more damage or something. Close to 50% more damage, I think, right? On your Landslide, which is cool. I think that's actually really cool. So, and it costs less Maelstrom, so it's only 25 instead of 30. Okay. We've got reactivity. Lightning Shield now lasts for an hour and has no charges. Melee attackers against you have a 100% chance to suffer 20% nature damage and generate 1 Maelstrom. So once again, this is an air thing. It's lightning, air. You're getting Maelstrom and you're doing a little bit of damage to enemies that hit you. It's like a Thorns effect, right? But it's like permanent, which is really cool. I like the idea of this a lot. This is going to lead us down to Momentum or Earth Armor. So Momentum says spending 15 Maelstrom increases your attack speed by 5%. This effect stacks up to 10 times. So you can get 50% attack speed rolling. And remember, our attack speed's also getting buffed up here. Our auto attacks are generating more Maelstrom. This is all about generating Maelstrom based on your auto attacks. You can make your auto attack speed just ramp up really, really high, which would be super cool. Okay? Or Earth Armor, Totemic Slam, which is our single target spender, and it summons a Stone Skin Totem. Totemic Slam costs 20 additional Maelstrom, but now deals 20% more damage and has a 100% chance to drop a Stone Skin Totem. So right now it has a 40% chance, and it only does 160% of our attack power. You're going to buff its damage by 20% more and have a guaranteed chance to drop a Stone Skin Totem. So this would be really, really cool, I think, in a raid environment probably where you know you're going to need that Stone Skin Totem, and you just take some resource generating nodes and then make sure you have Earth Armor in your Totemic Slam ready to go. So it's going to cost 50 Maelstrom instead of 30. But again, you have 100 extra Maelstrom. You can bank up a bunch of Maelstrom over time, and then you can just drop your Totemic Slam when you need it, which I think would be really cool. Okay, let's just finish off the air section here for a second so it makes sense. Bountiful Currents. Whenever you generate Maelstrom, you have a 50% chance to generate 1 additional Maelstrom. This is really disgusting. There's so many different ways that you're generating Maelstrom, and now you have a chance to get 1 more every time you do it. So your auto attacks are doing it. Your Rock Biter is going to do it. Your Healing Streams, I think, can do it as well. There's multiple different ways that you can generate Maelstrom, and that's going to just be a really powerful talent there. Let's get to the first capstone, Avatar of the Storm. 2-minute cooldown. This costs all available Maelstrom, which is, again, why it's important to have 100 more Maelstrom. You can bank up to 200, and then you can unleash an Avatar of the Storm. Summons an Avatar of the Storm around you for 15 seconds that deals 300% damage to all nearby enemies. Enemies near the storm are constantly interrupted, preventing spell casting. So this is like a massive Mythic Plus tool where you're constantly interrupting all enemies nearby and dealing a bunch of damage. The damage is increased by up to 100% based on the Maelstrom consumed. So if you consume a full 200 bar Maelstrom, you're going to do 600% of damage to all nearby enemies instead of 300%. So very, very powerful DPS cooldown in Mythic Plus. It also interrupts enemies. It's a really cool idea, okay? This is like huge if you want to bring in a bunch of spellcasters, and it's like having a druid, a boomkin beam basically on top of your head, but it's on a 2-minute cooldown, okay? Let's go back up here. Volcano. Using Rock Biter on an enemy affected by Flame Shock causes the Flame Shock to erupt, dealing damage to nearby enemies reduced beyond 8. So you have one target with your Flame Shock, you're Rock Bitering that target, and it's going to erupt and do a bunch of damage, which is really cool. Now, let's go down one more. Molten Energy. Volcano, whenever you Rock Biter somebody with a Flame Shock, it spreads that Flame Shock to 2 nearby enemies. Flame Shock can now be spread to up to 8 enemies. So this is going to be really important in a minute when you start to understand that Rock Biter can hit multiple enemies at the same time with Molten Fissure. So Rock Biter now strikes up to 2 additional enemies near your target for 40% of the damage. If those enemies have Flame Shocks on them, then it will spread those Flame Shocks multiple times. So you can easily get up to your 8 target cap really quickly when you combine Volcano, Molten Fissure, Molten Energy, and Molten Fissure together. When these all work together, you're going to be spreading Flame Shocks and proccing Volcanoes. And I think I'd probably have to reduce the damage of the volcano itself. It might have to only do like 50% of the damage because you're going to be proccing multiple volcanoes based on Molten Fissure, which is really cool. Okay. Every 10th rock biter that you use transforms it into Molten Fissure. This makes your next rock biter strike all nearby enemies for 300% flame strike damage and grant you an absorb shield for 100% of the damage that you dealt. So I actually think right away I can tell that I would need to nerf this. It would be something like every 20th rock biter. Let's do it that way. So every 20th rock biter that you use transforms your next rock biter into this massive Molten Fissure. This just smokes everybody in front of you basically, and then grants you a massive absorb shield because you're getting an absorb shield for each target that you hit, okay? Which is huge. That's a really big deal. Okay, this is a massive earth cooldown that you're going to have now. Does a lot of damage. It can spread a bunch of volcanoes and flame shocks, and it gives you a bunch of shields. Okay, and again, all these numbers could be tweaked, but I like the idea. This sounds like a fun ability. The point of this tree is that you want to have something that's really fun, in my mind. Okay, then you have throw another rock. This is a bonus to Earth Ellie. Earth Elemental now casts Rock Biter when summoned, and every 5 seconds. Rock Biters cast by Earth Elemental benefit from any Rock Biter talents that you've taken. So this is where you can start to get like stacking Rock Biter bonuses onto Molten Fissure, let's say. All the Rock Biters that your Earth Elemental cast count towards your Molten Fissure getting up to 20. So, and it counts towards your volcano. It counts towards molten energy. So now your Earth Elemental is contributing in a massive way with Rock Biters. Rock Biter absorb shields that you gain from your Earth Elemental are 30% more effective. This is really strong. It turns your Rock Biter shields into a really, really big deal. And it's a big DPS bonus to have your Earth Elemental out and to have him doing Rock Biters for you. Again, this might sound a little bit overpowered, but you can tweak all the numbers and make it work. The idea here is that it should be fun. When you spawn your Earth Elemental, he should have a really big impact when he spawns, and he will if you take Throw Another Rock, which of course is a reference to Talia from League of Legends, if you know that. Okay, let's keep going. Back to the water stuff. Riverbend, your healing received is increased by an additional 4% per active healing stream totem that you control. This is really strong because remember, you get 8% more healing received per totem, having any totem out. Now, healing stream totem contributes an additional 4% on top of that. If you're spawning multiple healing stream totems, which you'll be able to with a cooldown like Surging Waters, which gives you 2 healing stream totems, then this is going to massively increase your healing received, okay? The Riverbend could really start to scale out of control if you let it go. Floodgate, summoning a healing stream totem reduces the cooldown of Surging Waters. That's this cooldown that you have. So again, you can do it either way. You can either have more uptime on Surging Waters, which will get you more healing stream totems, or you can just have a massive bonus to your healing received and then spawn a bunch of healing stream totems some other way, which you can do it obviously through Surging Waters, and you can do it through Vesper Totem, which we'll get to in a second. Muddy Waters. Every 10th cast of Rock Biter summons a healing stream totem for 15 seconds. This has synergy with Throw Another Rock, by the way, and your Elemental. If your Elemental is casting Rock Biter, then you're casting Rock Biters. That's going to start stacking up Muddy Waters. Every 10th cast is going to spawn a healing stream totem. That healing stream totem will contribute to something like Riverbend, right? So very, very cool synergy there between the earth and the water side. Now, let me do Vesper Totem. This is exactly what it did in Shadowlands. You summon a totem, and then when you cast a damaging ability, it does a damaging pulse. When you cast a healing ability, like Healing Stream Totem or Healing Surge or Earthen Wall Totem, then it's going to do a pulse of AoE healing, okay? You may recast Vesper Totem to move it around. If you are injured, all of Vesper Totem's healing will go into you instead of going into your allies, okay? That's just a small little note there. Then we have the Capstone here. This is Raging Vesper Vortex. This was the legendary effect from Shadowlands. So when 3 charges of Vesper Totem are consumed, it will radiate damage and healing. So if you consume the healing portion or the damage portion, it doesn't matter. Then you're going to get a big pulse of damage and healing from the totem itself. Or you can do Totemic Rain. Vesper Totem now summons 3 healing stream totems for 10 seconds. This synergizes again with Riverbend, and you can do it with Surging Waters. So if you press Surging Waters into a Vesper Totem, you can have 5 healing stream totems at once. 5 healing stream totems all at once, okay? Spawning those healing stream totems reduces the cooldown of Astral Shift, Spawning all those healing stream totems will increase your healing received, of course, or spawning those healing stream totems will reduce the cooldown of Surging Waters and get it down lower, which is really, really cool. And finally, they all contribute to your Strength of the Earth mastery. You have 5 healing stream totems, all healing you like crazy. It's basically like you're going to be invincible for a very short amount of time there, and you're going to get a lot of healing. So some really cool. You can either go more offensive with the Vesper totem or more defensive, depending on which choice node you want to do, okay? Then you got Grace of the Spirits. Receiving fatal damage instead reduces you to 20% of your maximum health and creates a spirit link totem around you for 5 seconds. Healing received is increased by 200% when the spirit link totem is active. And then this is going to end up being a 10-minute CD. So just to make sure we understand that, I don't want it to be too overpowered. So every 10 minutes, you're able to benefit from this cheat death from Grace of the Spirits, okay? Which is very, very powerful. Super cool idea. Okay, let's get to the Earth. Let's finish it off here. Underneath your Molten Fissure, which is, again, you're stacking up this Rock Biter thing to turn it into a Molten Fissure to do a bunch of extra damage. Underneath that is Ascendance and Deeply Rooted. This is really cool. I love this version of Deeply Rooted. So here's what it is, or this version of Ascendance. Transform into an Earth Ascendant, immediately gaining an Absorb Shield for 20% of your maximum health, resetting the cooldown on Rock Biter and reducing its cooldown by 60%. So Rock Biter would basically end up being like a 2-second or a 3-second maximum cooldown, I would say. Okay. Each enemy hit by Rock Biter during Ascendance grants you 2% of your maximum health up to 20%. So you actually gain max HP during Ascendance. So very similar to a Guardian Druid, very similar to a Resto Shaman with Ancestral Vigor, right? We're getting a little bit of a Resto Shaman influence here. And remember, this counts no matter, it counts for each Rock Biter that hits an enemy. So if you have multiple Rock Biters hitting multiple enemies because of Molten Fissure, and because your Earth Elemental is also casting Rock Biters, you're going to quickly stack up this maximum health bonus. And again, you can just keep hitting Rock Biters because the cooldown is so low. Every time you do hit Rock Biter, you're going to keep getting an Absorb Shield. So this is just a huge Absorb Shield, max health bonus cooldown, which is really neat. I like it a lot. I love the idea of this. And you can trigger it. You can trigger with Deeply Rooted by pressing Rock Biter. And once again, if your Earth Elemental casts Rock Biter, that counts towards your Deeply Rooted proc chance. So I love the idea of this. Lots of Absorb Shields, lots of max health. It's a really cool idea for Ascendance, okay? Then you have the 2 choice nodes. First Ascendant reduces the cooldown of Ascendance by 1 minute, or your haste is increased by 25% during Ascendance, and it increases the duration of Ascendance by 3 seconds. So you can, this is the exact same Ascendance node that every other Shaman spec has, okay? Here's the final section here. We have Volcano spreading flame shocks. Then we have Elemental Harmony. This is really cool. Casting an ability grants a bonus depending on the element that was used, okay? Each bonus lasts for 5 seconds. The bonuses cannot stack up, but they can be refreshed. This is like a passive bonus that you're going to be keeping up all the time. If you cast a nature spell, you get plus 10% increased healing. If you cast a physical spell, you're going to get 5% more max HP, and which again, that's Rock Biter, right? If you cast a fire spell, which would be Flame Shock, you're going to get 10% more armor, okay? So there's a lot of abilities in here that deal nature damage. For example, Fury of Air deals nature damage. Your Totemic Slam does flame strike damage. This is physical and fire. Okay, wink, wink. So that counts towards the physical and the fire bonus for Elemental Harmony. So there's lots of ways to stack this up really easily, really quickly. These are the different bonuses that you get depending on which spell you cast. You can keep these buffs up basically permanently, okay? So it's a nice little bonus there. Then finally, we have High Totem. This is kind of like High Tide for water, for Resto Shaman, but it's called High Totem. It's a 2-minute cooldown. This summons 4 totems to your aid at 50% increased effectiveness. You get an Earthen Wall totem, you get a Healing Stream totem, you get a Liquid Magma totem, which is from Ellie Shaman, and you get a Counter Strike totem. If you don't know what Counter Strike totem does, it does this. Whenever an enemies deal direct damage to you or your allies near the totem, the damage is reflected back to them at 30% effectiveness. It lasts for 4 hits. It only lasts for 4 hits because otherwise it's completely broken. Counter Strike totem Whenever the enemy hits you with Counter-Strike Totem up, it doesn't do any damage to you. It just redirects that attack at 30% of the damage that it would have dealt to you. So not only is it redirecting and doing damage for you, it's absorbing 100% of whatever those hits were going to be. So it blocks 4 hits and it sends them back at 30% effectiveness. Then, of course, you get Earthen Wall, Healing Stream, Liquid Magma Totem. Liquid Magma Totem will spread multiple flame shocks for you. Wink, wink. So then you can immediately start getting volcano procs and spreading even more flame shocks. So this is an easy way for you to spread flame shocks and to get that whole volcano thing going on, okay? High Totem, of course, puts 4 totems on the ground, which also contributes to your Strength of the Earth, which is really, really good. And each one of these totems represents a different element, which means it's going to immediately proc Elemental Harmony. Just guaranteed right out of the gates. It immediately, as soon as you drop High Totem, you get Elemental Harmony. Now, also in the class tree, you have Totemic Projection. You can move all these totems around on a 10-second cooldown, but you drop your High Totem, and let's say the enemies start moving for your Liquid Magma Totem to do more damage. You can move the totems with Totemic Projection and get them all over the place, okay? That's the entire tree. I know this is taking forever, I realize that, but that's the whole tree, and we've got... Your capstones are a big avatar of the storm, which again caps off all the resource generation that you've been doing. Things like Breath of Air, giving you lots of Maelstrom. You're going to spend all your Maelstrom and conjure a big storm. That storm is going to interrupt enemies all the time and stop them from casting abilities and do a bunch of damage, which is really cool. Or you've got High Totem, which again goes right back into your mastery. It makes you tankier, it makes you do more damage, and it spawns a bunch of interesting effects. Healing Stream Totem, Earthen Wall, reducing your damage, Liquid Magma Totem, adding fire, flame shocks to everybody so you can proc them, and then the Counter-Strike Totem, which redirects damage. Very, very powerful cooldown. It's going to proc Elemental Harmony for free. In the middle, of course, our capstone, we've got Ascendance, which turns you into an Earth Ascendant, which gives you shields from your Rock Biters, which has a really low cooldown, and increases your maximum health while you're doing all this, which is really, really strong, okay? And you can proc that either with Deeply Rooted, or you can cast it with Ascendance, and then we have the extra capstone nodes there. The capstone for water is Vesper Totem, and you can make that do a bunch of damage and a bunch of healing. You can make it do a bunch of extra healing with Totemic Rain if you want to spawn a bunch of Healing Stream Totems, and whenever you're spawning Healing Stream Totems, you're reducing the cooldown on Surging Waters, or you're reducing the cooldown on Astral Shift, or you're adding Earth Shield stacks to yourself. Every single time you add a Healing Stream Totem, you're refreshing an Earth Shield stack. Every time Healing Stream Totem heals, it increases the healing of your next Healing Surge. There are just so many different synergies here that work together and are really awesome, I think, that work really, really well. I love this tree. I think this is an idea that Blizzard should go with when it comes to an Earth Warder Shaman. It's got to have a ton of Earth synergy, but I think air and water are perfect other elements to bring in here. I think there's some really cool niches that you can create, things like Reincarnation being on a lower cooldown, it being the only tank in the game that can resurrect itself if it happens to die. I think that's really cool. You have another cheat death with a Spirit Link Totem down here, which is very cool. Lots of self-healing with Healing Stream Totem and Healing Surge. Lots of Earth Shield refreshing and Rock Biter damage. That's the most chunk of your damage you're going to be doing. A little bit of fire synergy with Volcano, and then air is taking care of all your resource generation and giving you some extra block chance, because we are a blocking tank after all. Lots of really cool imbuements like Wind Shield, giving you extra block chance and shields whenever you do block damage, and then massive resource generation that is going to just fuel the rest of your build no matter what you're doing. So let me know what you guys think about this in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from you. I'm really excited about the idea of a tank shaman possibly existing in the War Within. We'll have to see what Blizzard does with it. They did promise us they're going to do further development on shaman. That could mean that we get a tank shaman like this. It might not mean anything. I'm just kind of excited about it, and I think this would be a great direction for them to go. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thanks so much again for watching. I love you all. I'll see you in the next one.